엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Coming up on Arirang News, another summit between the leaders of South Korea, the US, and Japan is set for next month in the United States. It's the first time for the US president to host foreign leaders at Camp David. Top nuclear envoys of Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo agreed to cut off illicit funding for North Korea, condemning the regime's latest ballistic missile launches. South Korea's nuclear chief says Kim Jong-un has reached a dead end. South Korea gears up to further boost its global technological dominance in chips, displays, and secondary batteries, designating 7 regions as special clusters for national advanced strategic industries. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. Another summit with the leaders of South Korea, the US, and Japan is coming up next month. President Yoon will be traveling to the American presidential retreat of Camp David, the first time for the US president to host foreign leaders there. Three-way economic and security cooperation is likely to top the agenda. Our senior presidential correspondent Oh Soo-young leads us off.
The leaders of South Korea, the United States, and Japan will meet again next month for a summit at the US presidential retreat of Camp David, amid ongoing challenges to regional and economic security. President Yoon Suk-yeol will reportedly meet his counterparts on August 18th, after US leader Joe Biden proposed a stateside trilateral at the G7 summit in Hiroshima 2 months ago. The upcoming meeting marks the first standalone summit between the 3 countries, as previous sit-downs took place on the sidelines of other summits. It's also the first time for the US president to host foreign leaders at Camp David, which has been the site of several historic meetings and negotiations involving world leaders. The peaceful and secluded environment has fostered candid and constructive dialogues in the past, while the informal setting has promoted trust and understanding. So the question is, what will be discussed behind closed doors, and more importantly, what outcome will emerge from them? Yoon's principal deputy security advisor Kim Tae-ho hinted earlier this week that the 3 leaders would discuss security and economic cooperation among other agenda items. The meeting notably comes after South Korea resumed military intel sharing with Tokyo and forged a new nuclear consultative group with Washington, ramping up security cooperation with both regional partners amid North Korea's missile testing.
Perhaps a discussion to set up an information sharing apparatus could be underway or could be placed on the table. And by doing so, the 3 nations could seek an opportunity to lay a concrete foundation for such a mechanism that could facilitate information sharing process in a contingency.
The 3 countries have also been increasing bilateral as well as trilateral forms of economic and tech cooperation, reviewing ways to bolster semiconductor production, batteries, and supply chains of critical minerals. Observers expect the trilateral meeting to build on the leaders' pledge in Hiroshima to upgrade their cooperation to a new level in various areas, including in the sharing of missile warning data, their respective Indo-Pacific strategies, economic security, and engaging with Pacific Island nations. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Top nuclear envoys of South Korea, US, and Japan sat down in Tokyo today following a fresh round of missile tests by North Korea. Having reaffirmed cooperation to cut off illicit funding for the regime's missile programs, Seoul's nuclear chief says Kim Jong-un has reached a dead end. Our Peunji reports.
South Korea's top nuclear envoy Kim Gov't has highlighted the need to strengthen trilateral cooperation between the US and Japan to cut off illicit funding for North Korea's ballistic missile and weapons programs. He said this while holding a trilateral meeting in Tokyo on Thursday afternoon with his American and Japanese counterparts, Sung Kim and Takehiro Funakoshi. Noting that Kim Jong-un has reached a dead end, Kim Gov't said that at the top of their list is repatriating overseas North Korean workers and clamping down on malicious cyber activities. He also added that they will look for further action that can be taken to close the loopholes in the sanctions that are placed on North Korea, and said they're still open to talks.
We will strengthen our close communication and coordination to bring North Korea back to the path to denuclearization.
The U.S. nuclear envoy also said Washington remains committed to achieving denuclearization.
Our security commitments to our allies and partners are ironclad and unwavering, and we will continue to take steps to demonstrate our commitment to extended deterrence.
The three officials last met in person in Seoul this April. Thursday's meeting comes a day after North Korea fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles in an apparent protest against the arrival of an American nuclear ballistic missile submarine in South Korea, with the new Seoul-Washington security dialogue taking place for the first time on Tuesday. The regime also launched a solid fuel ICBM last Wednesday. The talks also come at a sensitive time after an American service member crossed the inter-Korean border into North Korea, fleeing before being sent back home to face military discipline. 배은지, Arirang News.
South Korea gears up to further boost its global technological dominance in chips, displays, and secondary batteries, designating 7 regions as special clusters for national advanced strategic industries. Our Lee Si-hoo reports on the significance of this project.
The government has designated 7 regions across the country as what it calls special clusters for national advanced strategic industries to foster the growth of cutting-edge technologies and into which it will invest 614 trillion Korean won, or around $483 billion. The announcement was made by the Office for Government Policy Coordination after being finalized at a related committee meeting presided over by Prime Minister Han Duck-soo.
The South Korean government will give all directional support for these special clusters to become global innovation areas with internationally overpowering production capacity.
The designated clusters are Yongin and Pyeongtaek in Gyeonggi-do Province, Gumi and Pohang both in Gyeongsangbuk-do Province, Cheonan and Asan in Chungcheongnam-do Province, Cheongju in Chungcheongbuk-do Province, the Saemangeum Coastal Region in Jeollabuk-do Province, and Ulsan Metropolitan City. 21 regions applied for the government designation and support, but only the 7 were selected, based on criteria such as the presence of innovative enterprises in the region, investment plans, and potential for growth. The clusters will focus on advancing technologies in semiconductors, displays, and rechargeable batteries, among others. The special clusters will receive, quote, a comprehensive support package, such as expedited government approvals, tax benefits, and budgetary support. Additionally, in the second half of the year, a pan-ministry council will be formed to provide a one-stop support service for the clusters. Meanwhile, the government also selected 8 universities, including Seoul National and Seonggyungwan, to advance the cutting-edge technology required by these industrial clusters. To support them, the government is going to invest 54 billion Korean won to set up interdisciplinary curriculums and recruit talented teaching professionals. These moves follow a promise made by President Yoon Suk-yeol at an emergency meeting on the economy back in March.
오늘 발표된 국가 첨단 산업단지 조성이 신속하게 추진될 수 있도록 정부는 모든 노력을 다하겠습니다.
The government is also looking to expand the list of universities that it will support as it seeks to foster qualified talent that industries are looking for. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
There's a program here in Korea to help potential unicorn companies, meaning startups that have a value of over $1 billion, as private investment in these firms have been on the decline this year. Our Lee Soo-jin takes a closer look at this project and what more needs to be done.
South Korea's unicorn startups boast cutting-edge technologies that have been recognized globally, but investment in the nation's startups have been plunging. During the first half of this year, $1.8 billion was invested in domestic startups. This is nearly 70% lower compared to the previous year. The fall in investment has made it difficult for startups to get private funding for their businesses. The Ministry of SMEs and Startups program that helps startups get bank loans through its public guarantee institution is thus receiving more attention.
So the selected firms will be provided a guarantee of up to 20 billion won by Korea Technology Finance Corporation.
One of the 15 companies selected this year was Gov't, a company slated to become the nation's first food and beverage unicorn startup.
Times like this, it's very difficult to source capital in the market, so we are very fortunate that.
According to the ministry, Gov't was chosen for its advanced food technology. It uses AI to monitor the entire process of putting toppings on pizza to maintain the same quality across all stores. It also uses automated cutting technology, minimizing the amount of human labor needed. Many companies have benefited from this program since its launch in 2019. One company that achieved unicorn status is Chikbang, which provides 3D virtual tours of apartments available for rent.
It helped us greatly financially. It provided us an opportunity to secure long-term funds, and because it meant that our potential was recognized by the government, it helped us draw more investment.
And this year, the ministry is also focusing on ways to help companies enter foreign markets and attract global investors.
We will give companies the opportunity to participate in global IR.
There is still much that can be done, though.
When startups go overseas, there's nobody to help them. We don't even have an office. It's very difficult to source new human resources.
He said that having government-supported facilities overseas where startups can receive consultations could be helpful. If the government continues to expand on its current measures, South Korea could see even more innovative unicorn startups in the future. 이수진, Arirang News.
The average age of employees in South Korea is forecast to reach 54 by the year 2050. That's 10 years higher than the OECD average. This was revealed on Thursday in a report by the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It added that it could speed up with a growing number of working seniors. It also said that last year, people in their 50s or over accounted for more than half of the country's employment figures when it came to low-skilled jobs, mostly in manufacturing industries, noting that labor shortages could worsen down the road. The global smartphone market saw a decline in the second quarter of this year, though there are apparent signs of a recovery. A report by technology market analyst firm Canalys on Thursday showed that shipments of smartphones from April to June fell 11% on year. But the report noted that with the global economy stabilizing, inventory levels are also becoming more stable. It added that the decrease in the sales volume in the first 2 quarters of this year had been in and around the 10% range, down from 20% in the fourth quarter of last year. Samsung had the greatest market share with 21%, maintaining its position from the previous quarter, followed by Apple and Xiaomi. You might have heard of a new social media service, Threads. Will it be a wind of change in the social media ecosystem, or is it going to just end up being a fad? Our business correspondent Lee Dae-yeon tells you more on this.
We've seen one of the fastest sign-up rates for a social media app. It's Threads. While not social media, if we take ChatGPT as an example, it took 2 months to reach 100 million accounts. Threads reached that in less than a week. According to South Korean real-time data service WiseApp, more than 1 million people in South Korea signed up for Threads within 5 days of its launch. Threads is a text-based social network service that resembles Twitter. The app was built by the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, Meta, which means users can link the two social media apps, making it very easy for the 2 billion Instagram users to open a Threads account. Meta even said Threads will be, quote, powered by Instagram. And some recent controversial decisions made by Twitter and its owner Elon Musk have triggered some users to migrate to other apps, including Threads. In March, Twitter launched a new monthly and annually paid subscription service. Users also now need to pay to have a blue verification tick. So you have to pay to use Twitter without restrictions, as it limits you to read 1,000 posts a day for free.
This seems very timely, and I'm sure they've been working on it for quite some time, but this was perfect timing with just the latest sort of little fiasco on Twitter with Musk rate limiting users and all that stuff. So yeah, the timing was perfect, and so it's not too much of a surprise, as expected in a way. Yeah.
A lawyer for Twitter, Alex Spiro, sent a letter to Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg accusing the company of engaging in, quote, systematic, willful, and unlawful misappropriation of Twitter's trade secrets and other intellectual property, demanding that, quote, Meta take immediate steps to stop using any Twitter trade secrets or other highly confidential information. But we might want to keep an eye on whether to find out if the arrival of Threads means the end of Twitter. Threads has not been released in Europe yet due to the Digital Markets Act, which bans U.S. big tech companies from dominating the European market. But there is a high possibility, experts say, that the service will be introduced there in a very short time. However, we have already seen that some new social media services come and go rather rapidly. For instance, Apple's Clubhouse, where people could communicate in audio chat rooms, went viral in the pandemic era. But with some social media services, the novelty wears off. As for Threads, users have complained that the app drains their batteries, so it still has some things to overcome to become a major player in the market. Lee Dae-hyun, Arirang News.
Now moving on to the latest on the recent deadly downpours here in Korea. A member of the South Korean Marine Corps who had been part of a monsoon rain damage search operation has been found dead. At least 50 people have been killed or remain missing. Our Shin Ha-young has the latest.
Heavy rainfall during this year's monsoon season has resulted in the deaths of at least 46 people. But the death toll could rise as according to the data from the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters, as of 6 p.m. Thursday, 4 are still missing. In addition, 35 people have been injured, while over 17,000 have had to evacuate from their homes. About 3,000 are still unable to return. The body of a Marine who was swept away by a rapid stream on Wednesday during search and rescue operations has been found. Rescue workers found the Marine corporal who was serving with the 1st Marine Infantry Division in the Naesung Stream in Gyeongsang-buk-do Province late Wednesday night, 14 hours after he was reported missing. However, authorities explained that he has not been added to the official death toll from the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters to avoid confusion.
The Marine Corps is currently investigating the accident and evaluating safety procedures of the search and rescue team that was dispatched at the site of the heavy rainfall.
President Yoon Suk-yeol on Thursday expressed his deep condolences, saying that the government will thoroughly investigate the cause to prevent a recurrence. Meanwhile, on Thursday morning, authorities opened an investigation into the tragic accident in Osong in Cheongju City, Chungcheongbuk-do Province, where 14 people died in a flooded tunnel. The investigation is focused on determining if the levee functioned as intended and whether it was sufficient to endure water pressure. 4 hours before the tragedy, it was confirmed that the local government had received 3 separate flood warnings, including 2 from the Kim River Flood Control Office, specifically about the Osong Tunnel. There were also several emergency calls made by members of the public. With the heavy rain alerts lifted, the Central Disaster Headquarters has lowered its response level to the lowest of the 3 levels. The Korean Meteorological Agency issued a heat wave warning for the northern regions of Gyeonggi-do Province and Gangwon-do Province, as well as advisories in Seoul and the southern regions. This heat wave is forecasted to last until Friday, and as the weekend begins, hot conditions are expected to cool down with nationwide rain in the forecast. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
While relentless rain is the reality here in this part of the world, over in the West, harmful heat waves and their related repercussions are troubling people. Yoon-jin explains.
A massive heat wave is sweeping much of Europe. Parts of Italy, Greece, France, and Spain have seen several days of temperatures around 40 degrees Celsius, which has prompted local authorities to issue red alerts. These warnings suggest that the heat poses a threat to not only vulnerable groups, but to everybody. The heat wave is expected to have a negative effect on Europe's busy summer tourist season, with several popular locations in the affected areas either seeing reduced operating hours or closures. Other tourist destinations, such as Spain's Canary Islands, are even worse off, with thousands being evacuated in La Palma as the ongoing heat wave exacerbates wildfires there. Wildfires are also raging across the continent, including in Greece and the Swiss Alps. The World Meteorological Organization has warned that the heat wave in Europe could continue into August. In the United States, heat alerts are in effect from California to Florida. The brutal hot air remains trapped, baking the southern half of the country because of what's called a heat dome, when a high-pressure circulation in the atmosphere acts like a dome, trapping the heat. Heat advisories or excessive heat warnings have been issued in 16 states, with the National Weather Service warning that extreme heat and humidity will significantly increase the potential for heat-related illnesses. Actual air temperatures in parts of the Southwest are expected to top 49 degrees Celsius, while states along the Gulf Coast and Southeast could exceed 44 degrees. In 2021, the global insurance giant Swiss Re released a study looking into the overall impact of climate change on the global economy. The study found that continued disastrous effects of scorching heat waves could bring losses costing as much as 11 to 14% of global economic output by 2050. This was based on a scenario where global temperatures rise by as much as 2.6 degrees above pre-industrial levels. 이은진, 아리랑 뉴스.
The 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup officially kicked off on Thursday. Co-host New Zealand got things underway and beat Norway 1-0 at Auckland's Eden Park. The other host nation, Australia, then took on the Republic of Ireland in the second game of the day in Sydney, but did so without star player Sam Kerr due to injury. 32 countries are taking part in the tournament. South Korea, led by head coach Colin Bell, are in Group H and will play their first game against Colombia on July 25th in Sydney. Korea's other group stage matches are against Morocco and Germany. After the Auckland shooting incident on Thursday morning, the New Zealand government assured participants and fans of its commitment to improving security, while FIFA offered condolences for the loss of life and pledged its full support. BTS has topped the charts yet again, and this time for its book. The boy band's label, Big Hit Entertainment, says the book titled Beyond the Story, 10-year record of BTS, ranked #1 on the New York Times bestselling hardcover nonfiction books chart on Wednesday. Released on July 9th to celebrate BTS's 10th birthday, the book covers the band's journey from training on the local front to performing on the global stage. It also topped Amazon's bestseller list in the US, the UK, Brazil, Australia, and Japan. The book was co-authored by BTS and journalist Kang Myung-seok and is the first literary work by a Korean author to top the New York Times list.
A high-pressure system will continue to bring sweltering heat across the nation, but the good news is that conditions will only stay hot until tomorrow. So we'll see highs of 33 degrees Celsius, which is about 3 degrees higher than the seasonal average. With the monsoonal rain in the forecast this weekend, readings will drop by about 5 degrees on Sunday. Scorching heat will keep the air unstable across the nation. Expect on and off showers to follow for inland regions, mostly for the daytime. The amount of rainfall won't be too much, with about 5 to 40 millimeters. Mostly sunny skies are in the forecast for the morning hours. Seoul and Gwangju will be starting off at 24 degrees Celsius. As for the daily highs, Seoul and Daejeon will get up to 33, Gwangju 32, Busan and Jeju will be reaching 29 degrees. Between the Saturday and next Monday, another round of nationwide rain is in the forecast. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all for this Thursday night newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with the most up-to-date news. Good night.
엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수